The security camera footage played on repeat. There they were, her husband of 8 years and her former best friend, locked in a passionate kiss right there in his office. The same office where she used to bring him lunch every Tuesday. The same desk where they had made love on their anniversary just 3 months ago. Keisha's hands shook as she watched the timestamp 3:47 p.m., last Thursday. She had been at home that day preparing for his mother's birthday dinner. This was not the first time she had seen this footage. The private investigator had delivered it to her 3 days ago, along with photos, hotel receipts, and phone records that painted a picture she never wanted to see. Her husband Marcus, the man she had given up everything for, had been cheating on her with Tanya for over a year. The worst part was not just the betrayal. It was how stupid she felt. How blind she had been. All those late nights at the office, all those business trips, all those times Tanya had come over for dinner and acted like her friend. They had been laughing at her behind her back for months. Keisha closed the laptop and stared at the wall of their bedroom. Their beautiful bedroom in their beautiful house that she had decorated with love and care. The house she had turned into a home while giving up her own dreams. She had been the VP of marketing at a major tech company when she met Marcus. She was making her own money, climbing the corporate ladder, building something for herself. Then Marcus came along with his charm and his promises. He was already successful, already rich from his family's business empire. He told her she did not need to work so hard. He told her she deserved to be taken care of. He painted pictures of a life where she could focus on the things that mattered, their relationship, their future family, the charity work she was passionate about. So she had stepped down from her position. She had walked away from her career to support his. She became the perfect wife, hosting dinner parties for his business associates, organizing charity events that made him look good, managing their household so he could focus on making more money. She had made him her whole world. And this was how he repaid her. The bedroom door opened and Marcus walked in, still in his expensive suit, his phone pressed to his ear. He was talking in that smooth voice he used for business deals, completely unaware that his world was about to change forever. "I need those numbers by morning, James. This deal cannot wait." He hung up and looked at her with that same smile that had once made her heart race. Now it made her sick. "Hey baby, sorry I'm late. Traffic was crazy downtown." He loosened his tie and started unbuttoning his shirt. Such a normal evening routine. Such a normal lie. Keisha said nothing. She just watched him, memorizing this moment. The last moment before everything changed. The last moment he would look at her without fear in his eyes. "You okay? You seem quiet tonight." Marcus walked to his side of the bed and sat down to take off his shoes. The same shoes that had walked into that hotel room with Tanya dozens of times. "I'm fine," she said softly. Her voice sounded strange to her own ears. Calm. Too calm. Marcus did not notice. He never really noticed her anymore unless she was useful to him. He had gotten comfortable taking her for granted. He had gotten careless with his lies and his secret life. That carelessness was going to cost him everything. "Good. I have an early meeting tomorrow, so I'll be leaving around 6. Another lie. She knew from the investigator's report that his early meeting was actually breakfast with Tanya at their favorite hotel. The same hotel where they had been meeting every Tuesday and Friday for the past year. "Of course you do," Keisha said. She pulled her knees up to her chest and wrapped her arms around them. She looked like a broken woman, and in many ways she was. But broken things could be dangerous when they had nothing left to lose. Marcus finally looked at her, really looked at her. Something in her tone must have caught his attention. "Are you sure you're okay? You've been acting strange all week." All week. That was how long she had known about his affair. That was how long she had been planning what came next. She had spent those 3 days learning everything she could about Marcus and Tanya's relationship. She had spent those 3 days remembering exactly who she used to be before she became his wife. She had spent those 3 days planning their destruction. "I'm perfect," she said, and for the first time in years she meant it. She was about to become perfect again. Perfect and powerful and completely free. Marcus shrugged and went into the bathroom to shower. She heard the water start running and knew she had about 15 minutes. 15 minutes to make the final preparations for tomorrow. Tomorrow when everything would begin. She opened her laptop again and sent one last email. Short and simple, "It's time. Everything is ready. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. sharp." The response came back immediately. "Understood. We'll be ready on our end." Keisha smiled for the first time in 3 days. It was not a nice smile. It was the smile of a woman who had been pushed too far and was finally ready to push back. They had no idea what was coming for them. They had no idea that the quiet, supportive wife they had been deceiving was about to remind them both exactly who they were dealing with. She had given up her career for love. She had sacrificed her ambitions for his success. She had made herself small so he could feel big. But she had never forgotten how to fight. She had just been choosing not to. That choice was over now. The morning came faster than usual. Keisha woke up at 5 a.m., an hour before Marcus's alarm. She lay in bed listening to him breathe, knowing it would be one of the last peaceful moments he would have for a very long time. She had barely slept, but she felt more awake than she had in years. At exactly 6 a.m., Marcus's alarm went off. He reached over to turn it off, then groaned and stretched like he always did. Such a creature of habit. Those habits had made him predictable, and predictable people were easy to destroy. "Morning, baby," he mumbled, leaning over to kiss her forehead. His lips felt like ice against her skin. She wondered how many mornings he had kissed her goodbye before going to kiss another woman. She wondered how he had managed to look her in the eyes all those times. "Have a good meeting," she said softly. Her voice was steady now. The shaking had stopped sometime during the night. She had found her center again, found the strength she used to have back when she was building her own empire instead of supporting his. Marcus got dressed in his usual morning routine. Shower, shave, coffee, check his phone. He always checked his phone while drinking his coffee, probably reading messages from Tanya. Probably planning their day together while his wife sat across from him at the breakfast table they had picked out together. "I might be late tonight," he said, not looking up from his phone. "This new client is demanding a lot of attention." New client. That was what he was calling Tanya now. Keisha almost laughed. "Almost. Take your time," she said. "I have plans today anyway." That got his attention. Marcus looked up from his phone with surprise. Keisha never had plans anymore. She had given up her friends along with her career, choosing to focus all her energy on being the perfect wife. She had isolated herself completely, making Marcus her entire world. Another mistake she would never make again. Plans? What kind of plans? "Just some things I need to take care of." She sipped her coffee and looked out the window. The sun was coming up over their perfect neighborhood with their perfect house. By sunset, none of this would be theirs anymore. Marcus stared at her for a moment, then shrugged. He was not really interested in her plans anyway. He was probably just surprised she had any. He finished his coffee, grabbed his briefcase and headed for the door. "Love you," he called back without turning around. Such an automatic response. Such a meaningless phrase that had once meant everything to her. "Goodbye, Marcus," she said. Not, "love you too." Not, "see you tonight." Just goodbye. Because this was goodbye even if he did not know it yet. The front door closed and she heard his car start in the driveway. She waited until the sound faded completely before she moved. Then she went upstairs and opened her closet. Way in the back, behind all the beautiful dresses Marcus had bought her, was the person she used to be. Her old business suit still fit perfectly. The sharp black blazer that had made boardrooms go quiet when she walked in. The heels that had clicked with authority down corporate hallways. The briefcase that had carried contracts worth millions of dollars. She had packed these things away when she became Mrs. Marcus Thompson, but she had never thrown them away. Some part of her had always known she might need them again. She looked at herself in the mirror and saw someone she had almost forgotten. Keisha Williams, the woman who had built her own success from nothing. The woman who had never needed anyone to take care of her. The woman who had been strong enough to walk away from everything once before, and was about to do it again. Her phone buzzed with a text message. "In position. Waiting for your signal." She typed back, "Give me 30 minutes. Keisha grabbed the files she had been preparing all week and headed downstairs. The house felt different now that she was dressed like her old self. It felt smaller. Less important. Just a building full of expensive things that had never really belonged to her anyway. She walked through each room one last time, remembering all the dreams she had built here. The dinner parties where she had charmed Marcus's business partners. The charity events she had organized to build his reputation. The quiet evenings when she had actually believed they were building a life together. All of it had been a lie. All of it had been her giving and him taking while he saved his real love for someone else. Well, now it was time for him to give something back. She got in her car and drove downtown to the building where it had all started. The building where she used to work before she gave it all up for love. The building where she had once been someone important. Today she would be someone important again. The lobby was exactly the same. Marble floors, glass elevators, the quiet hum of serious business being conducted. She had missed this world more than she had allowed herself to admit. She had missed being part of something bigger than just one man's life. The elevator took her to the 42nd floor. The law offices of Bennett, Rodriguez and Associates. The best lawyers in the city, and the people who would help her take back everything that had been stolen from her. "Mrs. Thompson," the receptionist said with a smile. "They're waiting for you in conference room A." Keisha nodded and walked down the hallway. Her heels clicked against the floor with the same authority they had always had. She was not Mrs. Thompson anymore. She was Keisha Williams again, and Keisha Williams did not let anyone walk all over her. She opened the conference room door and saw 3 people sitting around a large table. Sarah Bennett, the lead attorney who specialized in high-asset divorces. Michael Rodriguez, the corporate lawyer who knew more about business partnerships than anyone in the state. And Detective Lisa Parker, who worked in financial crimes and owed Keisha a favor from years ago. "Are we ready?" Keisha asked as she sat down at the head of the table. "Everything is in place," Sarah said. "The divorce papers are prepared. The asset freeze goes into effect at 10 a.m. The forensic accountant has finished reviewing the financial records you provided." "And the other matter?" Keisha looked at Detective Parker. "The evidence you gave us was more than enough. We'll be making arrests this afternoon." Keisha nodded. She opened her briefcase and pulled out one final document. Marcus's signature was at the bottom, right where she had watched him sign it 6 months ago. He had been so proud that day, so excited to show her the new business partnership he had formed. He had no idea he was signing his own destruction. "He signed this partnership agreement without reading the fine print," she said. "He was so eager to expand the business that he gave me signing authority on all major decisions. Legal authority. Binding authority." The lawyers smiled. They had been over this document dozens of times in the past week. It was ironclad. Marcus had handed her the keys to his kingdom without even realizing it. "So when the divorce goes through and I claim my 50% of all assets, I'll also have the authority to sell my share to whoever I choose." Keisha looked around the table. "And I choose to sell it to his biggest competitor for exactly $1. The room was quiet for a moment. Then Michael Rodriguez started laughing. His own greed destroyed him. "This is beautiful. What about the woman?" Detective Parker asked. "Tanya Morris? What about her?" Keisha's voice was cold now. "She'll lose her job when we expose the embezzlement. She'll face criminal charges for stealing from the company. And she'll learn what it feels like to watch someone you love get destroyed." "The embezzlement charges will stick?" Sarah asked. "Oh yes," Keisha said. "Tanya has been stealing from the company for months. Small amounts but consistent. She thought she was being clever, but I've been tracking every transaction. She's been using company funds to pay for her dates with my husband. Hotel rooms, expensive dinners, jewelry. All of it paid for with stolen money." Detective Parker whistled. "That's felony theft. She's looking at serious prison time." "Good." Keisha closed her briefcase and stood up. "They destroyed my life for their pleasure. Now they get to watch their lives get destroyed for mine." She looked out the conference room window at the city below. Somewhere out there, Marcus was probably having breakfast with Tanya, planning their future together. They had no idea that their future had just been canceled. "When do we begin?" she asked. Sarah checked her watch. "The papers are being served in exactly 15 minutes. By noon today, Marcus Thompson will have lost everything." Keisha smiled. It was time to remind the world who she really was. At exactly 9 a.m., Keisha's phone rang. She was sitting in her car outside Marcus's office building, watching the entrance where soon everything would change. She had no intention of ever going back to Marcus. That part of her life was over forever. No matter how much he begged, no matter what promises he made, she would never be stupid enough to trust him again. Some betrayals could not be forgiven, and this was one of them. The phone call was from Sarah Bennett. "It's done. The papers have been served. Security cameras show he got them at his desk about 2 minutes ago." Through the building's glass windows, Keisha could see people moving around on the upper floors. Somewhere up there, Marcus was reading the divorce papers that would destroy his world. Somewhere up there, he was realizing that his quiet, supportive wife had just declared war on him. "How long before the asset freeze takes effect?" Keisha asked. 10 minutes. At 9:15, every account, every investment, every piece of property will be frozen pending the divorce proceedings. He won't be able to move a single dollar without court approval. Keisha checked her watch. 9:05 a.m. In 10 minutes, Marcus would try to access his accounts and find them locked. In 10 minutes, he would realize that his wife was not the helpless woman he thought she was. In 10 minutes, his comfortable life would start falling apart. Her phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "Emergency. Something terrible is happening. Call me right away." She knew that number. It was Tanya's personal phone. The same phone she had been using to send love messages to Marcus for over a year. The panic in the message was obvious. Word traveled fast in business circles, and news of Marcus's divorce was probably already spreading through the company. Keisha deleted the message without responding. Tanya would have to figure out her own problems now. In a few hours, she would have much bigger things to worry about than her lover's divorce. At 9:10 her phone rang again. This time it was Marcus. "Keisha, what the hell is this?" His voice was shaking with rage and confusion. "These papers. This can't be real. You can't be serious about this." "I'm completely serious," she said calmly. "I want a divorce, Marcus. I want out of this marriage and I want my fair share of everything we built together." "But why? What brought this on? We can talk about this, baby. Whatever's wrong, we can fix it." The word baby made her stomach turn. How many times had he called Tanya baby while lying to his wife? How many times had he used that same sweet voice to manipulate both women? "There's nothing to fix," she said. "This marriage is over. My lawyer will handle everything from now on." "Your lawyer?" "Keisha, you're scaring me. This isn't like you. You don't make big decisions without talking to me first. Something must be wrong. Are you having some kind of breakdown?" A breakdown. Of course he would think that. Of course he would assume that his wife could not possibly be smart enough or strong enough to plan something like this. He had gotten so used to her being weak that he had forgotten she had once been powerful. "I'm thinking more clearly than I have in years," she said. "Goodbye, Marcus." She hung up before he could respond. Her phone immediately started ringing again, but she turned it off. She had said everything she needed to say to him. From now on, they would communicate through lawyers. At 9:15, the asset freeze went into effect. Keisha's phone vibrated with a notification from her bank app. The joint accounts that had been frozen now showed her as the primary account holder pending the divorce proceedings. Marcus would not be able to touch a penny without her permission. She drove across town to Tanya's apartment building. Not to confront her, but to watch. She wanted to see what happened when someone's world fell apart. She wanted to see if Tanya would handle betrayal better than she had. The apartment building was in the expensive part of downtown, the kind of place Tanya could never afford on her company salary. The kind of place that required stolen money to maintain. Or a rich boyfriend who paid for everything. At 10 a.m., Detective Parker's unmarked car pulled up outside the building. 2 other police cars followed. Keisha watched from across the street as the officers went inside. She checked her watch. Right on schedule. 20 minutes later, they came back out with Tanya in handcuffs. Even from a distance, Keisha could see that she was crying. Her perfectly styled hair was messy, her expensive clothes wrinkled. She looked small and scared and completely unprepared for what was happening to her. That was exactly how Keisha had felt 3 days ago when she found out about the affair. That was exactly how every wife felt when she discovered her husband's betrayal. Now it was Tanya's turn to feel small and scared and alone. Keisha's phone buzzed with another notification. Sarah Bennett had sent her a text. Second phase complete. Target arrested on embezzlement charges. Bond hearing set for tomorrow. She started her car and drove to her next destination. The offices of Hartwell Industries, Marcus's biggest competitor. The company that had been trying to buy him out for years. The company that was about to get everything they wanted for the price of $1. James Hartwell was waiting for her in his office. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes, the kind of man who had built his business through hard work instead of family money. The kind of man who respected people who earned their success. "Mrs. Williams," he said, standing up when she walked in. He had remembered to use her maiden name, the name she would be taking back once the divorce was final. "I have to say, your proposal was quite unexpected. Call me Keisha." And I'm sure it was. But business is business, right? He smiled and gestured for her to sit down. "Indeed it is. I've reviewed the partnership agreement you provided. Everything appears to be in order. You do have the legal authority to sell your share. And you're prepared to buy it? For $1, as you suggested?" "Absolutely. Though I have to ask, why so little? Your 50% stake is worth millions." Keisha looked out his office window. She could see Marcus's building in the distance, probably full of chaos right now as news of the divorce and Tanya's arrest spread through the company. "Because this isn't about money," she said. "This is about justice. Marcus destroyed my life for his pleasure. Now I'm returning the favor." James nodded slowly. "He hurt you badly." "He did. And now he's going to learn that actions have consequences." "What about the employees? There are over 200 people working for that company." This was the question Keisha had been dreading. The one thing that made her hesitate about her plan. She did not want innocent people to suffer for Marcus's sins. "I've thought about that," she said. "I want your promise that you'll keep as many employees as possible. The only people who should lose their jobs are Marcus and anyone who helped him betray me. You have my word. Most of those employees are good people who deserve better leadership anyway. Then we have a deal." James pulled out a contract that his lawyers had prepared. The sale of her 50% stake in Thompson Industries to Hartwell Industries for the sum of $1. When Marcus's business partner discovered that his company was now owned by his biggest competitor, his world would be completely destroyed. She signed her name carefully. Keisha Williams. Not Thompson. She was done being defined by her husband's name. "There's one more thing," James said. "We'll need to verify that the sale is legal since the assets are currently frozen." "The asset freeze only applies to Marcus," she said. "I still have the right to sell my own property. But my lawyer is standing by if you need confirmation." "Excellent. This should be finalized by close of business today." Keisha shook his hand and left the building. It was only 11 a.m. and she had already destroyed her husband's life completely. His wife had left him, his lover was in jail, and his business was about to belong to his enemy. She felt lighter than she had in years. Free. Powerful. Like the woman she used to be before she made the mistake of trusting someone who did not deserve it. Her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Please call me. Marcus is losing his mind. He's saying crazy things about getting you back. He thinks you'll forgive him if he just explains everything. He doesn't understand that it's over." The message was from Tanya's sister, probably trying to help clean up the mess. But there was nothing to clean up. There was no going back. Marcus could beg and plead and promise to change, but Keisha would never be stupid enough to trust him again. She texted back, "Tell him I said goodbye. That's the only explanation he's getting." By noon, Marcus had called her 47 times. Keisha knew because she had turned her phone back on just to count the missed calls. Each one was more desperate than the last, each voicemail more frantic. She did not listen to them, but she could imagine what he was saying. Probably that he loved her. Probably that he could explain everything. Probably that they could work it out if she would just talk to him. None of it mattered. She was done listening to his lies. She was having lunch at her favorite restaurant downtown when Sarah Bennett called with an update. "The business sale is complete," Sarah said. "As of 20 minutes ago, Hartwell Industries owns 51% of Thompson Industries. Marcus is no longer in control of his own company." How did he find out? James Hartwell called him directly to inform him of the change in ownership. "I'm told he screamed so loud that the entire office could hear him." Keisha smiled as she cut into her salad. Marcus had probably never been screamed at in his life. His family money had protected him from most consequences, and his charm had gotten him out of the rest. Today was the first time he was facing real consequences for his actions. What about Tanya? Bond was denied. The judge said she was a flight risk. She'll be sitting in jail until her trial. Good. Keisha took a sip of her wine. What's next? Marcus has hired David Chin as his divorce attorney. He's going to fight this hard. David Chin was the best divorce lawyer in the state, known for protecting rich men's assets from their ex-wives. He was expensive, ruthless, and very good at his job. Marcus was pulling out all the stops to try to save himself. "Let him fight," Keisha said. "We have the partnership agreement. We have the evidence of his affair. We have documentation of every asset. He can hire whoever he wants, but the law is on our side." "There's something else," Sarah said. "Chin is claiming that you tricked Marcus into signing the partnership agreement. He's saying you manipulated him." Keisha laughed. "I manipulated him? I was the one who suggested he read the fine print before signing. I was the one who told him to have his lawyer review it. He was too arrogant to listen to me. Can you prove that?" "There were witnesses at the signing. His business partner was there. His secretary was there. They all heard me tell him to read it carefully." "Perfect. Chen's strategy won't work if we can prove Marcus ignored good advice." After lunch, Keisha drove to her old neighborhood. The place where she had lived before she met Marcus, back when she was building her own career and her own life. The apartment was small compared to the mansion she was leaving behind, but it had been hers. Completely hers. She had kept the apartment all these years, telling Marcus it was a good investment property. Really, it had been her safety net. Some part of her had always known that depending completely on someone else was dangerous. Some part of her had always known she might need a place to run to. The apartment was exactly as she had left it. Clean, simple, comfortable. Everything she needed and nothing she did not. After 8 years of living surrounded by Marcus's expensive things, the simplicity felt like coming home. She sat on the couch and finally listened to one of Marcus's voicemails. "Keisha, baby, please call me back. I know you're upset, but we can fix this. Whatever you think I did, we can work it out. I love you so much. You're my whole world. Please don't throw away 8 years of marriage over a misunderstanding." A misunderstanding. That was what he was calling it. A year-long affair with her best friend was just a misunderstanding. She deleted the message and listened to another one. "I fired her, okay? I fired Tanya. She doesn't work for me anymore. It's over between us, I swear. It meant nothing, Keisha. You're the only woman I've ever really loved. Please come home so we can talk about this." He had fired Tanya after she was arrested. How generous of him. How noble to fire someone who was already in jail and could not work anyway. The third message was different. Angrier. "This is insane, Keisha. You're destroying everything we built together. Everything I worked for. You can't just take half my company because you're mad about some stupid mistake. I made one error in judgment and you're trying to ruin my entire life. This isn't fair." There it was. The real Marcus. Not the loving husband begging for forgiveness, but the entitled rich man who was angry that someone had dared to challenge him. This was the man she had really been married to all along. She deleted all the messages without listening to the rest. She had heard enough. Her doorbell rang at 4 p.m. She looked through the peephole and saw Marcus standing in the hallway, looking desperate and exhausted. His expensive suit was wrinkled, his hair messy. This was probably the worst day of his privileged life. "I know you're in there," he called through the door. "Your car is in the parking lot. Please just talk to me for 5 minutes. Let me explain what happened." Keisha said nothing. She sat on her couch and waited for him to leave. "I love you," he said, his voice breaking. "I know I made a mistake, but I love you so much. Tanya meant nothing to me. It was just physical. It didn't mean anything. Just physical. As if that made it better. As if cheating on your wife was acceptable as long as you did not love the other woman. Please, Keisha. I'll do anything to fix this. I'll go to counseling. I'll quit the business. I'll do whatever you want. Just please don't leave me." She almost laughed. He would quit the business? The business he no longer controlled anyway? How generous of him to offer to give up something he had already lost. "I can't live without you," he said. "You're everything to me. Please don't throw away our marriage over one stupid mistake." One mistake. One stupid mistake. As if a year-long affair was just a momentary lapse in judgment. After an hour he finally left. She watched from her window as he got in his car and drove away. His shoulders were shaking. He was probably crying. Good. She had cried plenty of tears over him. Now it was his turn. Her phone rang again, but this time it was not Marcus. It was her sister Carmen, calling from California. "Girl, what is happening over there? I just saw the news online. Marcus Thompson's company was sold, and some woman named Tanya was arrested." Carmen was the only family Keisha had left, and the only person who had never liked Marcus. She had always said he was too smooth, too charming, too good to be true. She had been right. "I left him," Keisha said simply. "About damn time." "What did he do?" "He cheated on me with Tanya. For over a year." Carmen was quiet for a moment. "With your friend Tanya? The one who used to come to dinner?" "Yes. That bastard. I'm sorry, sis. I know you loved him." "I did. But I'm done loving people who don't love me back." "Good for you. And you took half his business." "I took what was legally mine. He signed the papers that gave me the right to do it." Carmen laughed. "You always were smarter than him. He just never realized it." "No, he didn't. He thought I was just the pretty wife who would never cause any trouble." "His mistake. So what's next?" "I'm going to rebuild my life. My real life, not the fake one I was living with him." "Need any help? I can fly out there tomorrow." "No, I'm okay. I need to do this myself." After they hung up, Keisha made herself dinner and tried to plan her next steps. The divorce would take months to finalize, but the hardest part was over. Marcus's business was destroyed, Tanya was in jail, and she was free. Tomorrow she would start looking for a new job. She had been out of the workforce for 8 years, but she still had skills. She still had connections. She would rebuild her career from scratch if she had to. Her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "I'm not giving up on us. I'll wait as long as it takes for you to forgive me. I love you." She blocked his number and went to bed in her own apartment, in her own bed, for the first time in 8 years. She slept better than she had since before she found out about the affair. The morning news was full of stories about Thompson Industries. Local company sold and surprise deal. Businessman loses control of family empire. Corporate takeover shocks business community. Marcus's humiliation was public now, broadcast across the city for everyone to see. Keisha watched the coverage while drinking her coffee in her simple kitchen. The reporters were calling it a hostile takeover, but they had no idea how hostile it really was. They had no idea that the man's own wife had orchestrated his destruction. Her phone rang at 8 a.m. Sarah Bennett with another update. Marcus's lawyer filed an emergency motion to stop the divorce proceedings, Sarah said. He's claiming you're mentally unstable and not capable of making major decisions. Mentally unstable? Keisha laughed. That's his strategy? It's a desperate move. He's trying to have you declared temporarily incompetent so he can regain control of the assets. Will it work? Not a chance. We have documentation of your planning, your meetings with lawyers, your business decisions. You've been functioning perfectly. If anything, you're more competent now than you've been in years. Keisha agreed. She felt sharper, more focused, more like herself than she had since she got married. Leaving Marcus had been like waking up from a long dream. There's a court hearing this afternoon, Sarah continued. You'll need to appear in front of the judge to respond to the motion. I'll be there. At 10 a.m., she went to the unemployment office to file for benefits. It was humbling to stand in line with people who had lost their jobs, knowing she had chosen to give up her career. But it was also liberating. She was starting over completely, building a new life on her own terms. The woman behind the counter was sympathetic when she explained her situation. 8 years out of the workforce is a long time, the woman said. But you have good experience from before. Marketing VP is impressive. I hope someone will still want to hire me. Oh honey, with your background? You'll be fine. Might take a few months to find the right position, but you'll find something. From there, she went to the library to update her resume. It felt strange to write down her accomplishments from so long ago, but seeing them on paper reminded her of who she used to be. She had been good at her job. Really good. She had managed million-dollar campaigns, led teams of 20 people, increased company revenues by 30% in 2 years. She had been somebody before Marcus. She could be somebody again. At 2 p.m., she arrived at the courthouse for the emergency hearing. Marcus was already there with his lawyer, David Chin. He looked terrible. His skin was pale, his eyes red from lack of sleep. When he saw her, he started to stand up, but Chin pulled him back down. Mrs. Thompson, Judge Martinez said when the hearing began. I understand your husband is claiming you're not mentally competent to make major financial decisions. How do you respond to that? Keisha stood up calmly. She was wearing her best business suit, her hair pulled back professionally. She looked every inch the successful businesswoman she had once been. Your Honor, I've never been more mentally competent in my life, she said. For 8 years, I allowed my husband to make all our major decisions. I trusted him completely and he betrayed that trust. Deciding to leave him and protect my financial interests was the sanest decision I've ever made. Mrs. Thompson, can you explain the business transaction that your husband is disputing? 6 months ago, my husband asked me to sign a partnership agreement giving me equal authority over business decisions. I advised him to read the fine print and have his lawyer review it. He refused, saying he trusted me. When I discovered his affair last week, I exercised my legal rights under that agreement. Judge Martinez looked at the documents Sarah had provided. Mr. Chin, do you have evidence that your client was coerced or deceived into signing this agreement? David Chin stood up. Your Honor, my client was manipulated by a woman who was planning to destroy him from the beginning. Do you have evidence of this planning from 6 months ago? Chin was quiet for a moment. No, Your Honor. Mrs. Thompson, do you have evidence that you advised your husband to review the agreement carefully? Sarah handed the judge a stack of papers. Your Honor, we have testimony from 3 witnesses who were present at the signing. All confirm that Mrs. Thompson told her husband to read the agreement and consult his attorney. The judge reviewed the testimony quickly. Mr. Thompson, she said looking at Marcus. Why didn't you read the agreement before signing it? Marcus stood up shakily. I trusted my wife, Your Honor. I never thought she would use it against me. But she advised you to read it? Yes, but... And you chose not to follow that advice? Yes. Judge Martinez closed the file. Motion denied. Mrs. Thompson appears to be fully competent and acting within her legal rights. The divorce proceedings will continue as scheduled. Marcus slumped in his chair like he had been physically hit. Chin whispered something in his ear, probably telling him this was just the first battle in a long war. As they left the courtroom, Marcus tried to approach her. Keisha, please. Can we just talk for 5 minutes? Away from the lawyers, just you and me? She looked at him for a long moment. He looked so desperate, so broken. Part of her almost felt sorry for him. Almost. There's nothing to talk about, Marcus. You made your choice when you decided to cheat on me. Now you get to live with the consequences. It was a mistake. People make mistakes. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk at the store. A mistake is being late for dinner. Having an affair for over a year while lying to your wife every single day is not a mistake. It's a choice. I love you. No, you don't. You love having someone take care of you. You love having someone make your life easier. You love having someone who never questions you or challenges you. But you don't love me because if you did, you never could have hurt me the way you did. She walked away before he could respond. She could hear him calling her name, but she did not turn around. She was done looking back. That evening she got a call from James Hartwell. The merger is complete, he said. Thompson Industries no longer exists as an independent company. All employees have been offered positions with Hartwell Industries at their current salaries. What about Marcus? He's been offered a position as a junior marketing consultant. Same level he started at 15 years ago. Keisha smiled. From company owner to junior consultant in one day. That had to hurt his pride more than losing the money. Will he take it? Probably not. Men like him don't handle going backwards very well. What will he do? I have no idea. But that's not your problem anymore. He was right. Marcus's future was not her problem. She had her own future to worry about, her own life to rebuild. She had spent 8 years making his problems her problems. That time was over. She spent the evening applying for jobs online. Marketing positions mostly, but also some consulting work and a few nonprofit roles. She had forgotten how exciting it could be to imagine new possibilities, new challenges, new ways to use her skills. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is David Chin. My client would like to discuss a settlement. Are you willing to negotiate? She texted back. There's nothing to negotiate. He can have his personal belongings and half of whatever's left after the business debts are paid. Everything else is mine. That's not reasonable. He built that business. With my support. While I gave up my own career to help him succeed. I earned every penny. He's willing to pay you alimony. I don't want his money every month for the rest of my life. I want my share now so I can start over completely. The phone was quiet for several minutes. Then, he says he'll agree to your terms if you'll see him one more time. Just to talk. Keisha stared at the message for a long time. Part of her was curious about what he might say. Part of her wondered if he had finally realized what he had lost. But a bigger part of her knew that seeing him again would be a mistake. There was nothing he could say that would change what he had done. There was nothing he could promise that she would ever believe again. She typed back, no. The lawyers can handle everything from now on. Then she turned off her phone and went to bed. Tomorrow she would start building her new life. Tonight, she would sleep peacefully knowing that she had finally stood up for herself. 3 weeks later, Keisha got her first job interview. It was for a marketing director position at a nonprofit that helped women start their own businesses. The irony was not lost on her, helping other women become independent while she was rebuilding her own independence. The interview went well. The director, a woman named Patricia Hayes, seemed impressed with her background. 8 years out of the workforce is a concern, Patricia said honestly. But your previous experience is excellent, and frankly, we need someone with your level of expertise. I understand the concern. But I've been studying current marketing trends, taking online courses, updating my skills. I'm ready to work hard and prove myself. Why this job? Why not something in the corporate world where you'd make more money? Keisha thought about the question carefully. Because I know what it's like to depend on someone else for everything. I know how dangerous it can be to give up your own power. If I can help other women avoid that mistake, then my own experience will have been worth something. Patricia smiled. When can you start? The salary was less than half what she had made in her old job, but it was enough to live on. More importantly, it was hers. Money she would earn with her own work, her own skills, her own effort. She called Sarah Bennett with the good news. Congratulations, Sarah said. By the way, the divorce is almost final. Marcus has agreed to all your terms. All of them? Everything. He gets his personal belongings and half of what's left after the business debts. You get the house, the cars, the investment accounts, and your share of the business sale. He also agreed to pay all court costs. What changed his mind? I think he finally realized he had no choice. David Chin probably told him he would lose even more if he kept fighting. After they hung up, Keisha drove to the house she had shared with Marcus. She needed to pack up her things and decide what to do with the rest. The house felt empty and cold now, like a museum of a life that no longer existed. She walked through each room remembering all the dreams she had built here. The kitchen where she had cooked Marcus's favorite meals. The living room where they had hosted dinner parties. The bedroom where she had believed they were building a life together. It all felt like someone else's life now. Like a story she had read about different people. In the master bedroom, she found a letter on her pillow. Marcus's handwriting, her name on the envelope. She almost threw it away without reading it, but curiosity got the better of her. Keisha, the letter began. I know you don't want to see me or talk to me, but I had to write this. I had to try one more time to make you understand how sorry I am. She sat on the bed and kept reading. I know what I did was unforgivable. I know I destroyed everything good between us. I know I hurt you in ways that can never be fixed. But I need you to know that losing you has been the worst thing that ever happened to me. The letter went on for 3 pages. Marcus apologizing, Marcus explaining, Marcus begging for another chance. He promised to go to therapy. He promised to change. He promised to spend the rest of his life making it up to her. I know you think I don't really love you, he wrote. But you're wrong. I love you more than I've ever loved anyone. I was just too stupid and selfish to realize what I had until it was gone. Please, give me one more chance to prove that I can be the husband you deserve. Keisha read the letter twice, then put it back in the envelope. Marcus sounded sincere. He sounded broken and sorry and desperate to fix things. For a moment, she almost felt bad for him. Then she remembered the security camera footage. Marcus and Tanya in his office, kissing like teenagers. Marcus and Tanya at expensive restaurants, laughing together while his wife waited at home. Marcus and Tanya in hotel rooms, making love while his wife planned charity events to make him look good. She tore up the letter and threw it in the trash. Words were easy. Promises were easy. But actions showed who people really were, and Marcus's actions had shown her everything she needed to know. By evening, she had packed everything that mattered to her. It was less than she expected. 8 years of marriage, and most of what she wanted fit in a dozen boxes. The rest was just expensive things that had never really belonged to her anyway. She was loading the last box into her car when a familiar voice called her name. Keisha? Is that really you? She turned around and saw her old colleague, Mike Davidson, walking toward her from across the street. He looked the same as he had 8 years ago, maybe a little grayer around the edges. Mike, what are you doing in this neighborhood? I live here now. Bought a house about 6 months ago. He looked at the boxes in her car. Are you moving? Something like that. She did not want to explain the whole situation to someone she had not seen in years. I heard about what happened with Thompson Industries. That was some business deal. James Hartwell played it perfectly. Mike had no idea that she was the one who had orchestrated the whole thing. To the outside world, it just looked like a smart business move by Hartwell. Business is business, she said. Yeah, I guess so. Hey, are you working anywhere these days? I remember you were brilliant at marketing. We could use someone with your skills at my company. Actually, I just got a job. Starting Monday. That's great. Where at? Women's Business Development Center. I'm going to be their new marketing director. Mike looked surprised. That's a big step down from where you were before. VP to director, corporate to nonprofit. You sure about that? It was the same question everyone would probably ask her. Why was she settling for less? Why was she not trying to get back to where she had been before? I'm sure, she said. Sometimes starting over means starting smaller. But it also means starting honest. Mike nodded like he understood, even though she was sure he did not. Well, if you ever change your mind, give me a call. I'm VP of Marketing at Consolidated Systems now. We're always looking for talent. After he left, Keisha sat in her car for a few minutes, thinking about what he had said. She could probably get her old life back if she wanted to. Maybe not the exact same position, but something close. Something that paid well and came with status and respect. But she did not want her old life back. Her old life had been built on the foundation of someone else's success. Her new life would be built on her own foundation, brick by brick, decision by decision. She drove back to her apartment and spent the evening unpacking boxes and arranging her furniture. It was a small space, but it was hers. Every piece of furniture, every decoration, every choice was completely hers. Her phone rang at 9 p.m. An unknown number, but she answered it anyway. Keisha? This is Tanya. She almost hung up immediately. The last person she wanted to talk to was the woman who had helped destroy her marriage. I'm calling from jail, Tanya continued quickly. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I had to call. I had to tell you how sorry I am. Sorry doesn't change anything. I know. I know it doesn't. But I need you to know that I never meant for it to go as far as it did. It started as just, I don't know, excitement. The thrill of doing something forbidden. I never meant to fall in love with him. Fall in love with him. So it had not just been physical after all, despite what Marcus had said in his voicemails. You were my friend, Keisha said. I trusted you. I welcomed you into my home. I know. I betrayed you in the worst possible way. I hate myself for it. Good. You should hate yourself. Tanya was crying now. I've lost everything. My job, my freedom, my reputation. Everything. And Marcus won't even talk to me anymore. He acts like I seduced him, like it was all my idea. Wasn't it? No. He pursued me. He told me his marriage was over, that you two were just staying together for appearances. He said you didn't love him anymore, that you were cold and distant. He made me think I was saving him from a loveless marriage. Keisha felt like she had been slapped. He said I was cold and distant? Yes. He said you never talked to him anymore, never showed him affection. He said you were more like roommates than husband and wife. The lies were breathtaking. Keisha had loved Marcus completely, had given him everything she had. She had been affectionate, supportive, devoted. If she had been distant lately, it was only because she had sensed something was wrong but could not figure out what. That's not true, she said. None of that is true. I know that now. I can see how much you loved him by how hard you're fighting to hurt him back. A woman doesn't destroy someone's entire life unless they meant everything to her. Keisha was quiet for a moment. Tanya was right about that, at least. She had not gone after Marcus because she hated him. She had gone after him because she had loved him so much that his betrayal had nearly destroyed her. I'm going to prison, Tanya continued. Probably for 2 years, maybe more. I've lost everything that mattered to me. But I deserved it. What I did to you was unforgivable. Yes, it was. Is there anything I can do? Any way I can make this right? No. There's nothing you can do. The damage is done. Will you ever be able to forgive me? Keisha thought about the question honestly. I don't know. Maybe someday. But not today and not anytime soon. I understand. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. And I wanted you to know the truth about how it started. Marcus lied to both of us. After Tanya hung up, Keisha sat in her quiet apartment thinking about what she had learned. Marcus had not just cheated on her. He had lied about her to his lover, painted her as a cold, unloving wife to justify his affair. He had rewritten their entire marriage in his mind to make himself the victim. The phone call had answered one question that had been bothering her. She had wondered if Marcus really loved Tanya, if their affair had been about genuine feelings or just physical attraction. Now she knew the truth. It had been about Marcus's ego. He had enjoyed having two women compete for his attention, had enjoyed being the center of both their worlds. He had never loved either of them. He had only loved himself. The next morning she started her new job. The Women's Business Development Center was in a converted warehouse downtown, bright and modern with an energy that reminded her why she had loved working in the first place. Patricia Hayes showed her around the office, introducing her to the small but dedicated staff. We help about 200 women a year start their own businesses, Patricia explained. Everything from bakeries to tech startups. Your job will be to help them market themselves effectively. What's the biggest challenge they face? Confidence mostly. A lot of these women have been out of the workforce, or have been supporting someone else's dreams instead of their own. They have good ideas and strong skills, but they don't believe in themselves. Keisha nodded. She understood that challenge better than anyone. Her first client was a woman named Rosa Martinez who wanted to start a catering business. Rosa had been a stay-at-home mom for 15 years, but her husband had left her for a younger woman and she needed to support herself and her 3 children. I can cook, Rosa said during their meeting. I know I can cook, but I don't know anything about marketing or advertising or getting customers. Tell me about your food. What makes it special? Rosa's face lit up. I make traditional Mexican food but with my own twist. Recipes my grandmother taught me, but updated for modern tastes. Healthier ingredients, smaller portions, beautiful presentation. That sounds amazing. Have you cooked for anyone outside your family? I've been making food for my church events for years. Everyone always asks for my recipes. Perfect. That's your starting point. Word of mouth from people who already love your food. They spend an hour developing a basic marketing plan. Social media strategy, a simple website, business cards to hand out at church and community events. Nothing complicated or expensive, just practical steps to build a customer base. You really think I can do this? Rosa asked as they finished up. I know you can do this. You have a product people want, you have a community that supports you, and you have the motivation to succeed. That's more than a lot of businesses start with. As Rosa left, Keisha felt something she had not felt in years. Purpose. She was helping someone build something real, something that would support her family and give her independence. This was so much better than organizing charity events to make her husband look good. At lunch, she got a call from Sarah Bennett. The divorce is officially final, Sarah said. Congratulations, you're a free woman. How do I feel about that? How do you feel about that? Keisha looked out the window at the busy street below. People going about their lives, building careers, chasing dreams, making their own choices about who to love and who to trust. I feel like myself again, she said. Good. You've got quite a settlement, by the way. After all the legal fees and business debts, you're walking away with about $2 million. $2 million. Enough to never work again if she was careful with it. Enough to buy a big house and expensive cars and all the things that were supposed to make people happy. I'm going to invest most of it, she said. Keep some for emergencies, but put the rest into index funds and forget about it. Smart. What about the house? Sell it? I don't want to live there anymore. Any regrets about how you handled this? Keisha thought about the question. Marcus's business was gone, his reputation was ruined, his money was mostly hers now. Tanya was in prison. She had gotten her revenge completely and thoroughly. No, she said. No regrets. They made their choices and I made mine. That evening she treated herself to dinner at a nice restaurant. Not because she was celebrating the money or the successful revenge. She was celebrating something much more important. She was celebrating the fact that she was free. Free from a marriage that had been built on lies. Free from a life that had never really been hers. Free to make her own choices, her own mistakes, her own successes. As she ate, she thought about Rosa Martinez and the dozens of other women she would help over the coming months. Women who had been betrayed, abandoned, or simply forgotten by the people who were supposed to love them. Women who were ready to build something new and real and completely their own. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I heard about the divorce. I'm sorry it didn't work out. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. Mike Davidson. She smiled and deleted the message. She was sure Mike was a nice man, and maybe someday she would be ready to trust someone again. But not today. Today she was perfectly happy being alone and independent and in control of her own life. For the first time in 8 years she was exactly where she belonged. 6 months into her new job, Keisha had helped 37 women start their own businesses. She kept track of each success story, each woman who had gone from dependent to independent, from scared to confident, from broken to whole. Rosa Martinez's catering business was thriving. She had 3 regular corporate clients and was booked solid for weekend events. She had hired 2 part-time employees and was looking at renting a commercial kitchen space. I never thought I could do this, Rosa had told her during their last meeting. After my husband left, I felt so lost. But now I feel stronger than I ever have. That was the feeling Keisha loved most about her new job. Watching women discover their own strength, their own capabilities, their own worth. It reminded her of her own journey from broken wife to independent woman. The Women's Business Development Center had grown during her time there. They had expanded their programs, increased their funding, and helped twice as many women as the year before. Patricia had given Keisha most of the credit. You have a gift for this, Patricia had said during her 6-month review. You understand these women because you've been where they are. It was true. She understood what it felt like to wake up one day and realize your whole life had been built around someone else's dreams. She understood the fear of starting over, the doubt about whether you were strong enough to make it on your own. But she also understood the incredible freedom that came with independence. The peace of knowing that your success or failure was entirely in your own hands. Her personal life was quiet but fulfilling. She had her small apartment, her simple routine, her work that mattered. She had started taking painting classes on weekends, something she had always wanted to try but never had time for when she was busy being the perfect wife. She had also started dating, carefully and cautiously. Nothing serious, just coffee dates and casual dinners with men she met through friends or online. She was not ready for anything serious, might never be ready for anything serious again. But it was nice to remember that she was still attractive, still interesting, still capable of connection. Marcus had tried to contact her several times over the 6 months. Calls, texts, emails, even a few letters delivered to her office. She had ignored all of them. There was nothing he could say that would change what had happened. nothing he could promise that she would ever believe again. According to Sarah Bennett, he had taken a job with a small marketing firm in another city. Starting salary, entry-level position, a complete restart of his career. The mighty had fallen far. Tanya was still in prison. She had pleaded guilty to embezzlement and received a 2-year sentence. Keisha tried not to think about her, but sometimes she wondered if prison had taught her anything about the consequences of betraying the people who trusted you. On a Thursday evening in October, Keisha was working late at the office when her phone rang. The caller ID showed a number she did not recognize, but something made her answer it. Keisha Williams? The voice was professional, official. Yes, this is Keisha. This is Detective Parker. We met several months ago regarding the embezzlement case. I remember. Is there a problem? Not exactly a problem, but I wanted to give you some information. Marcus Thompson was arrested this afternoon. Keisha felt her stomach drop. Despite everything that had happened between them, she did not want Marcus to be in serious trouble. She just wanted him to leave her alone. Arrested for what? Fraud. He's been running investment scams, taking money from elderly clients and using it for personal expenses. We've been investigating him for 3 months. How much money? About $500,000 so far. Could be more as we dig deeper. Keisha closed her eyes. Marcus had gone from successful businessman to desperate criminal in less than a year. The fall had been even worse than she had imagined. Why are you telling me this? Because his lawyer is claiming that his criminal behavior started after his divorce. He's trying to use his mental state as a defense, saying the loss of his marriage drove him to make desperate choices. That's ridiculous. I agree. A man doesn't become a criminal overnight. But I wanted you to know in case his lawyer tries to contact you or subpoena you as a witness. After Detective Parker hung up, Keisha sat in her empty office thinking about what she had learned. Marcus was not just ruined, he was becoming a criminal. The man she had once loved, had once trusted with her entire life, was stealing money from old people who trusted him with their retirement savings. She felt sad but not guilty. She had not made Marcus into a criminal. She had just stopped protecting him from the consequences of his own choices. If he had chosen to deal with his problems by committing crimes, that was on him, not on her. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sarah Bennett. Saw the news about Marcus. You okay? She texted back, I'm fine. Not my problem anymore. And she meant it. Marcus's problems were not her problems. His choices were not her responsibility. His future was not her concern. She had spent 8 years making his life easier, making his problems disappear, protecting him from consequences. That time was over. The next morning she got to work early and found a small package on her desk. No return address, just her name written in handwriting she did not recognize. Inside was a cell phone with a note. One message. Please listen. She almost threw the phone away without turning it on. She did not want to hear from Marcus, did not want to be dragged back into his drama. But curiosity got the better of her. She turned on the phone and found one voicemail message. Marcus's voice, but different somehow. Tired. Defeated. Keisha, I know you don't want to hear from me, but I'm probably going to prison and this might be my last chance to tell you the truth. The truth about everything. She almost deleted the message right there, but something in his voice made her keep listening. You were right about me. You were right about everything. I'm selfish and weak and I never deserved you. But I need you to know that I did love you. I know my actions proved otherwise, but I did love you in the only way I knew how. There was a long pause and she could hear him breathing. The affair with Tanya started because I was scared. Scared that you were too good for me, scared that you would realize you deserved better and leave me. So I sabotaged it first. I know that sounds crazy, but it's the truth. I destroyed the best thing in my life because I was afraid of losing it. Another pause. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve that. I'm not asking you to take me back. I know that ship has sailed. I just wanted you to know that losing you taught me what real love was supposed to look like. It was supposed to look like the way you loved me. Completely, honestly, generously. I never loved you that way, and that's my biggest regret. The message continued for another minute, Marcus apologizing and explaining and taking responsibility for his choices. He sounded sincere, maybe for the first time since she had known him. I hope you find someone who loves you the way you deserve to be loved, he said at the end. I hope you find someone who appreciates what a gift you are. I'm sorry it took losing you for me to realize what I had. The message ended and Keisha sat staring at the phone for a long time. It was the apology she had wanted to hear months ago, the honesty she had needed from him. It was too late to change anything, but at least now she knew that Marcus understood what he had done. She deleted the message and threw the phone in the trash. Then she got back to work helping women build their own lives, their own futures, their own independence. That afternoon, she had a meeting with a new client. A woman named Jennifer who had been married for 12 years to a man who controlled every aspect of her life. Jennifer had finally found the courage to leave, but she had no job skills, no money, and no idea how to support herself. "I feel so stupid," Jennifer said. "I have a college degree but I haven't worked in over a decade. Who's going to hire me?" "You'd be surprised," Keisha said. "What did you study in college?" "Accounting. I was actually pretty good at it." "Perfect. Every small business needs help with their books. We can start you with some part-time clients, help you build up your confidence and your resume. You really think I can do this?" Keisha looked at Jennifer and saw herself from a year ago. Scared, uncertain, convinced she was too old and too inexperienced to start over. "I know you can do this. A year ago I was sitting where you are now. Divorced, starting over, terrified that I had waited too long to reclaim my life. But here I am and I'm happier than I've been in years. What happened to your ex-husband? He made some bad choices and now he's facing the consequences. But that's not my story anymore. My story is about what I built after I left him." Jennifer smiled for the first time since she had walked into the office. "I like that. I want my story to be about what comes next, not what came before." "Exactly. The past is just information. It's not a prediction of the future." As Jennifer left, Keisha felt the same satisfaction she always felt when she helped someone take the first step toward independence. This was her calling, her purpose, the reason she had gone through everything with Marcus. She had been broken so she could learn how to heal. She had been betrayed so she could learn how to trust herself. She had lost everything so she could discover what really mattered. Her phone rang as she was getting ready to leave for the day. Patricia's voice was excited. "Keisha, I just got off the phone with the Morrison Foundation. They want to fund a major expansion of our program. Triple our budget, triple our staff, help us open satellite offices in 3 other cities. That's incredible. What do they need from us?" "They want you to lead the expansion. They were impressed with your work here, your results with clients, your vision for helping women achieve economic independence." Keisha felt her heart racing. This was the opportunity she had dreamed of but never dared to hope for. A chance to help thousands of women instead of dozens. A chance to build something truly meaningful. "What would that mean for my position here?" "You'd be the regional director. Your own budget, your own staff, complete authority to design the programs however you think they'll work best." "I need some time to think about it." "Of course. But Keisha, this is your chance to build something amazing. Something that will outlast all of us." That night, Keisha sat in her apartment thinking about the offer. Regional director. Her own programs. The chance to help women across multiple states build their own independent lives. A year ago, she had been a housewife with no job, no prospects, and no future outside of her husband's success. Now she was being offered the chance to lead a regional expansion of a program that changed women's lives. She thought about Marcus, probably sitting in a jail cell somewhere, facing the consequences of his choices. She thought about Tanya serving her time for embezzlement. She thought about all the ways their selfishness had rippled out and hurt other people. Then she thought about Rosa Martinez, now running a successful catering business. She thought about Jennifer, who would soon be supporting herself as an independent accountant. She thought about all the women she could help if she took this new position. She picked up her phone and called Patricia. "I'll take it," she said. "When do we start?" The Morrison Foundation's headquarters took up 3 floors of a glass tower downtown. Keisha had been there twice before for meetings, but today felt different. Today, she was walking in as the newly appointed Regional Director of Women's Economic Empowerment, with a budget of $2 million and the authority to transform lives across 4 states. She wore her best suit, the same one she had worn to court when she divorced Marcus. It felt appropriate somehow, wearing the outfit that had marked the end of her old life to the meeting that would launch her new career. Margaret Morrison, the foundation's director, was waiting in the conference room with 3 other board members. Margaret was in her 70s, a self-made businesswoman who had built a fortune in real estate before dedicating her retirement to helping other women succeed. "Keisha," Margaret said with a warm smile, "congratulations. We're thrilled to have you leading this expansion." "Thank you. I'm excited to get started. Before we talk details, I want you to know why we chose you. It wasn't just your work at the center, though that was impressive. It was your story. You understand what it's like to start over from nothing. You understand what these women are going through." Keisha nodded. Her divorce and career restart had become part of her professional identity now, a qualification rather than an embarrassment. Our research shows that women who've been out of the workforce face unique challenges, Margaret continued. They need more than just business training. They need to rebuild their confidence, their sense of self-worth, their belief that they can succeed on their own. That's exactly what I want to focus on, Keisha said. The practical skills are important, but the emotional support is what makes the difference between success and failure. They spent 2 hours going over the expansion plans. Satellite offices in Atlanta, Nashville, and Jacksonville. Staff hiring, program development, partnership agreements with local colleges and business organizations. It was more responsibility than Keisha had ever had, even in her corporate days. You'll have complete authority over program design and implementation, Margaret explained. We believe in giving our directors the freedom to innovate. What about accountability? How will you measure success? Number of women served, number of businesses successfully launched, average income increase for participants. But also less tangible things, confidence surveys, follow-up interviews, long-term success tracking. By the end of the meeting, Keisha's head was spinning with possibilities. She could create programs specifically for divorced women, for single mothers, for women escaping abusive relationships. She could partner with legal aid organizations, domestic violence shelters, community colleges. She could build something that would help thousands of women reclaim their lives. As she left the foundation offices, her phone rang. Sarah Bennett. How did the meeting go? Better than I hoped. They're giving me everything I asked for and more. Congratulations. You've come a long way from the broken woman who walked into my office a year ago. Was I really that broken? You were hurt and angry and determined to get revenge. But you weren't broken. Broken women don't fight back the way you did. After they hung up, Keisha drove to her old neighborhood. Not to see the house she had shared with Marcus, that had been sold months ago, but to visit the coffee shop where she used to spend her mornings when she was a housewife with too much time and too little purpose. The barista who had made her daily latte for 3 years was still there. Keisha, I haven't seen you in forever. How are you? I'm good, Maria. Really good. Different but good. You look different. Happier. More. Maria paused, searching for the right word. More like yourself, if that makes sense. It made perfect sense. She was more like herself than she had been in years. She was the woman she had been before Marcus, but stronger. The woman she would have become if she had never given up her own dreams for someone else's. She ordered her usual latte and sat at the same table where she used to read magazines and plan charity events and wonder why she felt so empty despite having everything she was supposed to want. Now she knew why she had felt empty. She had been living someone else's life, supporting someone else's dreams, defining herself through someone else's success. She had been a supporting character in her own story. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Saw the news about your promotion. Congratulations. You deserve all the success in the world. The message was signed M, and she knew immediately who it was from. Marcus, reaching out from whatever jail cell or halfway house he was living in now. Still trying to maintain some connection to her, even after everything that had happened. She deleted the message without responding. His opinion of her success was irrelevant now. His approval or disapproval meant nothing. She had built this new life completely without him, and she would continue building it without giving him another thought. That evening, she called her sister Carmen in California to share the good news. Regional director? Carmen squealed. Girl, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you. I still can't believe it's real. A year ago, I was an unemployed divorcee with no prospects. A year ago, you were a woman who had just discovered her own strength. This is just the natural result of that discovery. I keep thinking about all the women I'll be able to help. Women in situations like mine, who need someone to show them that starting over is possible. You're going to change so many lives. I hope so. I want my experience with Marcus to mean something. I want all that pain to have served a purpose. It already has. Look at who you've become. After they hung up, Keisha spent the evening researching the cities where she would be opening new offices. Atlanta's thriving business community, Nashville's growing entrepreneur scene, Jacksonville's diverse population of women needing economic opportunities. Each city would need its own approach, its own partnerships, its own understanding of local challenges and resources. It would be like starting 4 new businesses at once, each one dedicated to helping other women start their own businesses. The irony was not lost on her. She was about to become the kind of successful businesswoman she had been before she met Marcus, but with a mission that grew directly out of her experience of losing everything and starting over. She was turning her biggest failure into her greatest success. Her phone rang at 9 p.m. Patricia Hayes calling from the office. I know it's late, but I had to tell you about something that just happened. Rosa Martinez just got a contract to cater the mayor's inaugural dinner. $50,000. That's incredible. She called me crying. She said a year ago she was broke and scared and convinced she would never be able to support her family. Now she's running a business that's generating more income than her ex-husband ever provided. How does she feel about it? She said she feels powerful. Like she can handle anything life throws at her now. That was the feeling Keisha wanted to give to every woman she worked with. Not just financial independence, but emotional independence. The confidence that came from knowing you could take care of yourself, no matter what happened. There's something else, Patricia continued. Rosa wants to expand. She's thinking about opening a restaurant. She asked if you could help her with the business plan. Of course. I'd love to help her take the next step. She also said something interesting. She said watching you rebuild your life gave her the courage to rebuild hers. She said if you could start over after 8 years of marriage, she could start over after 15 years of being a housewife. Keisha felt tears in her eyes. She had never thought about how her own journey might inspire other women. She had been so focused on moving forward that she had not realized other people were watching and learning from her example. I'm going to put that in the marketing materials for the new program, she said. Stories of women who rebuilt their lives, who found their strength, who discovered they were capable of more than they ever imagined. That's perfect. Real stories are always more powerful than statistics. The next morning, Keisha woke up early and went for a run through her neighborhood. It was something she had started doing after the divorce, a way to clear her head and prepare for the day ahead. As she ran, she thought about the conversation with Patricia. Rosa Martinez had been inspired by her story. How many other women might be inspired by knowing that starting over was possible, that independence was achievable, that strength could be found even in the middle of betrayal and loss? She decided to start a blog. Nothing fancy, just honest posts about the reality of rebuilding your life after divorce, after betrayal, after discovering that everything you thought you knew about yourself was wrong. She would write about the practical things, finding a job, managing finances, building new social connections. But she would also write about the emotional journey, the anger, the fear, the gradual discovery of your own capabilities. When she got home from her run, she opened her laptop and started writing. 1 year ago, I discovered that my husband of 8 years was having an affair with my best friend. Today, I was promoted to regional director of a program that helps women achieve economic independence. This is the story of what happened in between. She wrote for 2 hours, telling the story of the security camera footage, the divorce proceedings, the business sale, the job search, the gradual rebuilding of her confidence and her career. She wrote about the moment she realized she was not a victim, she was a survivor. She wrote about the difference between revenge and justice, between getting even and getting ahead. Most importantly, she wrote about the discovery that losing everything could actually be the beginning of gaining everything that really mattered. When she finished writing, she read the post through twice before publishing it. It was honest, raw, and completely true. It was her story, told in her own words, without shame or regret. Within an hour, the post had been shared 50 times. Within a day, it had been shared 500 times. Women were commenting with their own stories of betrayal and rebuilding, of loss and recovery, of discovering strength they never knew they had. One comment stood out: I'm sitting in my lawyer's office right now about to file for divorce. I'm terrified of starting over at 45. Your story gives me hope that I can do this. Keisha smiled and typed back, you can absolutely do this. It won't be easy, but it will be worth it. Feel free to reach out if you need encouragement. That was how it started. One blog post, one honest story, one woman sharing her experience with other women who needed to know that starting over was possible. Within a month, she was getting emails from women all over the country. Within 3 months, she was invited to speak at conferences about divorce recovery and career rebuilding. Her personal story had become part of her professional mission. Her experience with betrayal had become a tool for helping other women avoid her mistakes and learn from her recovery. She had turned her worst experience into her greatest strength. 2 years after her divorce, Keisha stood in front of 500 women at the National Women's Economic Conference in Chicago. She was the keynote speaker, talking about resilience, rebuilding, and the power of economic independence. 2 years ago, she began, I was a housewife whose entire identity was built around my husband's success. I had given up my career, my financial independence, and my sense of self-worth to support his dreams. When I discovered his affair, I felt like my world had ended. The audience was completely silent, hanging on every word. But I was wrong. My world hadn't ended. It had just begun. Because for the first time in 8 years, I was forced to remember who I was before I became someone's wife. I was forced to rediscover my own strength, my own capabilities, my own worth. She clicked to the next slide, showing statistics from her regional program. In the past 18 months, our program has helped over 1,200 women start their own businesses. The average income increase for participants is 68%. But more importantly, 94% of participants report feeling more confident and more in control of their lives. The applause was thunderous. Keisha felt the same rush she used to feel in corporate boardrooms, the same sense of power and purpose. But this was better because this was about building up instead of just building profits. After her speech, she was surrounded by women wanting to share their own stories. Divorce survivors, single mothers, women escaping abusive relationships, women who had simply realized they wanted more from life than they were getting. One woman, about Keisha's age, approached her with tears in her eyes. "I read your blog post about starting over," she said. "It saved my life. I was so depressed after my divorce that I was considering ending it all. But reading your story made me realize that my life could still have meaning, that I could still build something beautiful." "What did you do?" Keisha asked. "I went back to school to become a nurse. I graduate next month. I already have a job lined up at the Children's Hospital." "That's incredible. You should be so proud of yourself." "I am. For the first time in my life, I'm actually proud of who I am and what I've accomplished." These were the moments that made everything worthwhile. Not the promotion, not the salary increase, not even the recognition at conferences like this one. It was the individual women who had found their strength, who had rebuilt their lives, who had discovered they were capable of more than they ever imagined. That evening, Keisha had dinner with Margaret Morrison and several other foundation board members. They were discussing plans for the next phase of expansion. "We want to go national," Margaret said. 50 offices in 25 states over the next 5 years. "We want you to lead the entire initiative." "That's a huge undertaking." "It is. But you've proven you can do it." "The regional program has exceeded every expectation we had." Keisha thought about the offer. National director would mean traveling constantly, managing hundreds of staff members, overseeing programs that could help tens of thousands of women. It would also mean less direct client contact, less hands-on program work. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Why is this so important to you personally? Why dedicate your foundation to women's economic empowerment?" Margaret smiled. "Because I was where you were once. Married young to a man who controlled everything. I was lucky, he died in a car accident when I was 35, and I inherited his business. But if he hadn't died, I would have lived my entire life as his dependent." "How did you build your own success?" "The same way you did. One decision at a time, one challenge at a time, one day at a time. But I had advantages you didn't have: money, connections, a business I could take over. Most women don't have those advantages. They need programs like ours to give them a real chance." "What about your personal life? Did you ever remarry?" "I did, eventually. But the second time I chose a partner instead of a master. Someone who respected my independence instead of trying to control it." After dinner, Keisha walked through downtown Chicago, thinking about Margaret's story and her offer. National director would be the culmination of everything she had worked toward since her divorce. It would also be a massive responsibility and a huge personal commitment. Her phone buzzed with a text from Rosa Martinez. "Saw your speech online. You were amazing. Restaurant opens next month. None of this would have happened without you." She smiled and texted back. "It all happened because of your hard work and determination. I just helped you see what was already there. Will you come to the opening? I wouldn't miss it." Rosa's success story was one of dozens that Keisha carried with her everywhere. Women who had gone from desperate to thriving, from dependent to independent, from broken to whole. Each success story reminded her why this work mattered so much. Each woman who rebuilt her life was proof that betrayal and loss didn't have to be the end of the story. They could be the beginning of something better. The next morning, she flew back to her home city and went straight to the office. She had a meeting with Jennifer, the accountant who had been one of her first clients after the promotion. Jennifer now ran her own bookkeeping service with 12 regular clients and was making more money than she ever had during her marriage. "I have something to tell you," Jennifer said as soon as Keisha walked into the conference room. "I'm getting married again." Keisha felt a moment of concern. She had seen too many women give up their newfound independence for another relationship, make the same mistakes they had made before. "Tell me about him," she said carefully. His name is David. He's a teacher at my daughter's school. We've been dating for 6 months and he's different. He respects what I've built. He's proud of my business. He never tries to make decisions for me or tell me what I should do. How does he feel about your independence? He loves it. He says he fell in love with my strength, not my vulnerability. He wants to support what I've built, not replace it. Keisha smiled. This was what healthy love looked like. Not someone trying to rescue you or control you, but someone who appreciated your strength and wanted to help you grow stronger. What did you learn from your first marriage that you're applying to this relationship? That I'm not responsible for making someone else happy. That I can't fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed. And that I should never, ever give up my financial independence for anyone. Good. Those are hard-learned lessons. They are. But they're the most important lessons I've ever learned. My first husband wanted a dependent wife. David wants an equal partner. After Jennifer left, Keisha sat in her office thinking about the difference between her story and Jennifer's. Jennifer had learned from her mistakes and found a healthy relationship with someone who valued her independence. Would Keisha ever be ready to trust someone that completely again? She had dated several men over the past 2 years, but nothing serious. Part of her wondered if she was too damaged for a real relationship, too suspicious of men's motives, too protective of her independence. Her assistant knocked on the door. There's someone here to see you. Says he's an old colleague from your corporate days. Keisha looked up to see Mike Davidson standing in the doorway. The same Mike she had run into while moving out of her old house, but he looked different somehow. More confident, more successful. Mike, what brings you here? I was in town for a business meeting and saw your name in the paper. The article about your keynote speech in Chicago. I had to stop by and congratulate you. Thank you. How's your job going? Actually, I quit Consolidated Systems 6 months ago. Started my own consulting firm. Really? What made you decide to go independent? Mike sat down across from her desk. Honestly? Reading your blog. Your post about rebuilding your career after divorce got me thinking about what I really wanted from my work life. You're divorced. 2 years ago. My ex-wife decided she wanted someone with more money and less dedication to his work. Turns out she was having an affair with her personal trainer. Keisha winced. I'm sorry. That's a painful way to end a marriage. It was. But like you wrote in your blog, sometimes losing everything is the beginning of gaining everything that really matters. They talked for an hour about business, about starting over, about the strange freedom that came from having your worst fears realized and discovering you could survive them. Would you like to have dinner sometime? Mike asked as he got ready to leave. Not a date necessarily, just two people who understand what it's like to rebuild from scratch. Keisha hesitated for a moment. She had learned to be cautious about men's intentions, to protect her independence carefully. But there was something honest about Mike, something that reminded her of her own journey. I'd like that, she said. But I should probably warn you, I'm not looking for someone to take care of me or rescue me. I'm pretty happy with my independent life. Mike smiled. Good. I'm not looking for someone to take care of either. I'm looking for someone who can take care of herself. That evening, Keisha called Margaret Morrison to accept the position as national director. I want to do this, she said. I want to help as many women as possible discover their own strength. Excellent. When can you start? Give me 2 months to transition my current responsibilities and find the right person to take over the regional program. Perfect. Keisha, you're about to change thousands of lives. I hope so. I know what it feels like to think your life is over and then discover it's just beginning. After they hung up, Keisha sat on her couch in her small apartment, looking at the life she had built from nothing. It wasn't the life she had planned when she married Marcus. It was better. She had her own career, her own success, her own purpose. She had helped hundreds of women find their strength and build their independence. She had turned her worst experience into her greatest achievement. Her phone buzzed with an email notification. The subject line made her heart skip a beat. From Marcus Thompson. She almost deleted it without reading it, but something made her open it. Keisha, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted you to know that I saw your speech online. I wanted you to know how proud I am of what you've accomplished. She rolled her eyes. His pride in her accomplishments was meaningless now. I'm getting out of prison next month. I've been in therapy for the past year, working on understanding why I made the choices I made. I know now that I was a narcissist who used people instead of loving them. I know now that I destroyed the best thing in my life because I was too selfish to appreciate what I had. The email continued for several paragraphs. Marcus apologizing, Marcus explaining his therapy insights, Marcus taking responsibility for his choices. It all sounded sincere, but sincerity was easy when you were facing the consequences of your actions. I'm not asking for forgiveness, he wrote. I know I don't deserve that. I'm not asking for another chance. I know that ship has sailed. I just wanted you to know that losing you taught me what real love looks like. It looks like the way you loved me, completely, honestly, generously. I never loved you that way, and that's my biggest regret. The email ended with, I hope you find someone who loves you the way you deserve to be loved. I hope you find someone who appreciates what a gift you are. I'm sorry it took losing you for me to realize what I had. Keisha read the email twice, then deleted it. Marcus's insights about love and his regrets about their marriage were too little, too late. She had moved far beyond needing his apology or his understanding. But there was something satisfying about knowing that he finally understood what he had lost. There was justice in the fact that his biggest regret was not appreciating her while he had her. She thought about Mike's dinner invitation, about Margaret's job offer, about all the possibilities that lay ahead. She thought about the woman she had become, strong, independent, successful, purposeful. Marcus had tried to break her, but he had actually freed her. His betrayal had forced her to remember who she was before she became his wife. His lies had taught her to trust herself. His selfishness had shown her what real love was supposed to look like. She was grateful for all of it now. Grateful for the pain that had made her stronger, grateful for the loss that had shown her what really mattered, grateful for the betrayal that had set her free. Tomorrow she would start planning the national expansion that would help thousands of women find their own strength. Next week, she would have dinner with a man who appreciated her independence instead of trying to control it. But tonight, she would sit in her small apartment that was completely hers, surrounded by the life she had built with her own hands, and feel proud of everything she had survived and everything she had become. She had won. Not because she had destroyed Marcus, though she had. Not because she had gotten revenge, though she had. She had won because she had discovered that she didn't need anyone else to make her whole. She was complete all by herself. And that was the most satisfying victory of all. 5 years after her divorce, Keisha stood in the ballroom of the Marriott Hotel, surrounded by 300 women celebrating the 5th Annual Women's Independence Awards. The event had grown from a small local gathering to a national celebration of women who had overcome obstacles to achieve economic independence. Tonight, Rosa Martinez was receiving the Entrepreneur of the Year award. Her restaurant had expanded into 3 locations, and she employed 47 people. She was also opening a culinary school to teach other women the skills they needed to start food service businesses. 5 years ago, I was a broke single mother who thought my life was over, Rosa said in her acceptance speech. Tonight, I'm standing here as proof that it's never too late to start over, it's never too late to chase your dreams, and it's never too late to build the life you deserve. The audience erupted in applause. Keisha felt tears in her eyes, the same tears she felt every time she saw a woman who had transformed her life completely. As the National Director of Women's Economic Empowerment, Keisha now oversaw 43 offices in 26 states. Her programs had helped over 8,000 women start businesses, find careers, and achieve financial independence. The success rate was unprecedented. 87% of participants were still thriving 3 years after completing the program. But numbers were just numbers. What mattered were the individual stories. Women like Rosa, like Jennifer, like the hundreds of others who had discovered their own strength and rebuilt their lives from scratch. After the ceremony, Keisha mingled with the guests, collecting stories and celebrating victories. Every woman there had overcome something: divorce, abuse, addiction, poverty, discrimination. Every woman there was proof that starting over was possible at any age, under any circumstances. Keisha. She turned to see Dr. Sarah Kim, a program graduate who had gone on to become a successful pediatrician after her divorce. I wanted to thank you again for everything you did for me. I didn't do anything. You did all the work. You showed me it was possible. When I was 45 and felt like it was too late to go back to medical school, you made me believe I could do it. How's the practice going? Better than I ever imagined. I'm opening a second clinic next year, specifically to serve low-income families. I want to give back the same way you gave to me. This was the ripple effect Keisha loved most. Women who had been helped by the program now helping others. The cycle of empowerment spreading far beyond anything she could accomplish alone. As the evening wound down, Keisha stepped outside for some fresh air. The hotel was downtown, not far from the building where she had once worked in her corporate days. She could see it in the distance, lit up against the night sky. "Quite a view," said a familiar voice behind her. She turned to see Mike Davidson approaching. They had been dating for 2 years now, a slow and careful relationship built on mutual respect and shared experiences. Mike understood her need for independence because he valued his own just as much. "How was your business trip?" she asked. "Successful. Landed 3 new clients." "How was the ceremony?" "Perfect." Rosa's speech made everyone cry, including me. Mike put his arm around her shoulders and she leaned into him. It had taken her a long time to trust this kind of physical affection again, to believe that someone could touch her without trying to control her. "I have something to tell you," Mike said. "My ex-wife called me yesterday." Keisha tensed slightly. Mike's ex-wife had left him for another man, much like Marcus had left her emotionally for Tanya. The parallel in their stories was part of what had drawn them together. What did she want? "She's getting divorced again. The personal trainer turned out to be a serial cheater. She wanted to know if we could try again." "What did you tell her?" "I told her that I'm in love with someone else. Someone who makes me a better person instead of making me feel small." Keisha smiled. "Good answer." She asked if you were the rebound relationship. "I told her you were the real relationship." She was the practice round. They stood in comfortable silence for a few minutes, watching the city lights. Keisha thought about how different this felt from her relationship with Marcus. With Marcus, she had always felt like she was performing, trying to be the perfect wife, the ideal partner. With Mike, she just felt like herself. "I've been thinking about something," Mike said. "About us." "What about us?" "We've been together for 2 years. We're both financially independent, emotionally healthy, completely honest with each other. We've both proven we can take care of ourselves." "That's true. So I was wondering if you might be interested in taking care of each other. Not because we need to, but because we want to." Keisha looked at him. "Are you asking what I think you're asking?" Mike reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "I'm asking if you'd like to be partners. In business and in life. Equal partners with equal say in everything. 2 independent people choosing to build something together." Keisha stared at the box, her heart racing. She had never thought she would want to get married again. After Marcus, the whole institution had seemed like a trap, a way for women to lose themselves in someone else's dreams. But this felt different. This felt like 2 complete people choosing to share their completeness, not 2 broken people trying to fix each other. "What would that look like?" she asked. "Marriage between 2 people who refuse to give up their independence?" "I don't know," Mike said honestly. "We'd have to figure it out as we go. Separate bank accounts, shared decisions, equal responsibility for everything. Neither of us giving up our careers or our dreams for the other person." "What about children?" "If we want them, we'll figure out how to share that responsibility equally too. If we don't want them, that's okay too." Keisha thought about Jennifer, who had found a partner who respected her independence. She thought about Margaret Morrison, who had eventually found someone who supported her success instead of competing with it. She thought about all the women she had counseled over the years, women who had been afraid to trust again, afraid to love again, afraid to be vulnerable again. She had always told them that the right person would appreciate their strength, not try to diminish it. Maybe it was time to take her own advice. "Ask me properly," she said. Mike got down on one knee right there on the hotel balcony, opening the box to reveal a simple diamond ring. "Keisha Williams," he said, "will you marry me? Will you be my equal partner in everything? Will you help me build a life that makes both of us better people?" "Yes," she said without hesitation. "Yes, I will." As Mike slipped the ring onto her finger, Keisha thought about the journey that had brought her to this moment. The betrayal that had broken her heart, the divorce that had freed her spirit, the career that had given her purpose, the program that had let her help other women find their strength. All of it had been necessary. All of it had led her to this place, this moment, this man who loved her strength instead of fearing it. Her phone buzzed with a text message. She glanced at it and saw it was from Carmen, her sister in California. "Saw the live stream of the awards ceremony. You looked amazing up there. So proud of everything you've built." She texted back, "Just got engaged. To someone who loves me for who I am, not who he wants me to be." Carmen's response came immediately, "Finally. I can't wait to meet him." "When's the wedding?" "We haven't even discussed that yet. But it'll be small. Just family and close friends. I'm not interested in a big production. As long as you're happy. I'm happier than I've ever been in my life." And she was. Not because she was getting married, but because she was marrying someone who appreciated the woman she had become. Someone who had seen her at her strongest and most independent and had fallen in love with exactly that. 6 months later, they had a small wedding in the garden behind the Women's Business Development Center. Rosa Martinez catered the reception. Jennifer did the accounting for the wedding expenses. Margaret Morrison gave a toast about the power of love between equals. Marcus was not invited, obviously. He had been released from prison the year before and had moved to another state to start over. According to mutual acquaintances, he was working as a car salesman and living in a small apartment. He had learned a hard lesson about the consequences of betrayal, but that was his story to write now, not hers. Tanya had been released after serving 18 months in prison. She had also moved away, and Keisha had heard nothing about her new life. That was exactly how she wanted it. In her wedding vows, Keisha promised to be Mike's partner in all things, but never his dependent. She promised to support his dreams while never abandoning her own. She promised to love him for who he was, not for who she could make him become. In his vows, Mike promised to celebrate her independence, not try to control it. He promised to be her soft place to land without being her crutch. He promised to build a life with her, not for her. After the ceremony, as they danced to their first song as husband and wife, Mike whispered in her ear, "Thank you for showing me what real love looks like." "Thank you for being worthy of it," she whispered back. As the evening wound down, Keisha found herself standing in the same garden where she had once felt so lost and broken. Now she was surrounded by friends she had made through her work, celebrating a marriage built on equality and respect, looking forward to a future full of possibilities. Her phone chimed with a notification from her blog. Someone had commented on her original post about starting over after betrayal. "I'm reading this at 2 a.m. after finding out about my husband's affair. I feel like my world is ending. Tell me it gets better." Keisha smiled and typed back, "It gets so much better than you can possibly imagine right now. Not because you'll get revenge or because he'll realize what he lost. It gets better because you'll discover who you really are when you're not defining yourself through someone else's life. You'll discover that you're stronger than you think, more capable than you know, and more deserving of real love than you ever believed. The pain you're feeling right now is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your real story. Trust me on this." She posted the response and put her phone away. Tomorrow she would go back to her work helping women rebuild their lives. Tomorrow she would continue building the national program that was changing thousands of lives every year. But tonight, she would dance with her husband in the garden where she had once thought her life was over, celebrating the truth she had learned the hard way. Sometimes losing everything is the only way to find everything that really matters. She had won. Not because she had destroyed Marcus, though she had. Not because she had gotten revenge, though she had. She had won because she had discovered that she was complete all by herself, and that discovery had made her capable of real love with someone who saw her completeness and celebrated it. She had won because she had turned her worst betrayal into her greatest strength, her deepest pain into her most meaningful purpose, her biggest loss into her most important victory. She had won because she had learned that the best revenge against someone who tries to make you small is to become everything you were meant to be. And she had become everything she was meant to be and more.